Hi friends, I'm Abby and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing one of my favourite videos to film, and that is my series check-in, so my wrapping up of the past 3 months and how I've been doing with working on my series, and then some plans and TBR for the next 3 months and what series I plan to be working on and continuing in and maybe starting. The wrapping up what I've done. I have been continuing in a lot of series. I've been doing a lot of work on my series, but I haven't been getting a lot of satisfaction because I've not been finishing the series. So I've been doing all the work without the payoff. But hopefully that means that going into the next quarter, I will get all of the payoff all at once and all the series will suddenly be finished. That's the hope. But I have still been making a lot of progress. I've worked on a lot of series. So I've been doing like every single series that I've been working on and doing one book instead of just doing one series, reading it through, one series, reading it through, which maybe I should have done. But I have finished a couple of things, so there's not nothing that's finished. I did finish the Where Dreams Descend duology with reading When Night Breaks. This wasn't a favourite. I didn't really like this one, but it fulfilled its purpose and I did finish the series. It is a bit sad though because I did really like the first book, which is Where Dreams Descend, and I thought that one was really fun, like a Phantom of the Opera meets The Greatest Showman. Fun, magic, just fun characters, whereas this felt very cliche. Yeah, I'd say it was very, very cliche YA and just wasn't really for me, so a bit disappointed in this one, but I did finish it. I finished it. I also finished the original trilogy in the Daughter of the Forest Seven Waters series. This is now a 6-book series, but I'm sort of viewing it in 2 parts. There's the original trilogy and then there's like a part 2 trilogy. So the original trilogy is finished and I think I'm going to take a little break from this world now and sort of see this as a complete arc, and then I'll go back in the future and I'll look at the rest of, and I'll read the rest of them in the future. So I really enjoyed this. Daughter of the Forest I think is my favourite in this trilogy, but I did enjoy the way that it all wrapped up following this multi-generational story. So I read Son of the Shadows, which is book 2, and Child of the Prophecy, which is book 3, and I really like them. I really like them. So that is a series that I really liked, had positive feelings on, that I finished in this quarter. So I did that one. And then I also read, I mean, I don't really know if you can count this as like finishing a series because technically the series was already finished for me, but I did read The River of Silver, which is the short stories from the Jacob Bad World. So it's not like a continuation, it's not like a standalone, it's not like a finish of a series, it's just extras from that world that have just been released. So I did read that as well, which is sort of finishing but sort of not, because it's not like the end of a series, but I don't really know what to count that as. But either way, it was read. I loved it. I love the David Bad World. I read anything and everything that S.H. Chakraborty writes, so success is there. And now into the many series that I worked on, that I did some working on, that I continued in. I continued in The Lord of the Rings by reading The Two Towers, which I really thoroughly enjoyed. Like this one, enjoying this world, will definitely read The Return of the King. I just want to watch the film first of The Two Towers and then I'll get to The Return of the King. So positives here, have continued, have got past my original bookmark from when I was a child, so positives, and really thoroughly enjoying reading this classic work of fantasy. I also continued in the Women's War trilogy by reading The Queen of the Unwanted. So I have 1 book left in this trilogy to read. I don't own it just yet, but just 1 more book to go. This one I didn't like quite as much as The Women's War, but I still enjoyed it. I did enjoy where the story went. I do really like the world and these characters and seeing their struggles and seeing them fight for their identity and where it's all going to go. I'm intrigued where it's all going to go. Very intrigued. I'm interested in the magic in this. So yes, I continued. Haven't quite finished it yet, but I have worked on it. So those are 2 of the series that are actually complete, that I could just read the 3rd book. The other ones, I think I can keep going in, but they're not completed series. I did read The Hunger of the Gods by John Gwynne. Actually, I can't keep going anymore with this one. I am up to date with it, as up to date as I can be, and I'm just waiting for the next book's release. Waiting very impatiently for it because I do definitely want to read it. This was one of my favourites of the year so far. I love John Gwynne's books. I've read everything that he's written and will keep reading everything that he writes because I thoroughly enjoy the way that he crafts stories and the way that he crafts his characters and his worlds. This was the sequel to The Shadow of the Gods, which came out last year, and I thoroughly enjoyed this. I would definitely recommend the Bloodsworn series as well as The Faithful and the Fallen and anything else that John has written. And I really liked the exploration of the characters and getting more villainous points of view in this one, and the ending. I don't know what's going to happen next. I need to know what's going to happen next. Need to know. I also continued in the Guild series by reading Glint, by Raven Kennedy, the second book in this Play to Prison series. Well, I enjoyed this, didn't love it, but I enjoyed it, and I'm definitely intrigued to see where it goes, because the ending left off on a cliffhanger, and I now want to know what's going to happen next. Typical. This is a fantasy romance series, so I've been enjoying sort of reading these in between more dark and gritty books. That these are a bit not lighter, because a lot of the actual themes of this is quite dark, but it's an easier read, that it's a quick, easy narrative to follow. I then read A Mirror Mended, the second book in the Fractured Fable series by Alex E. Harry, the first book being Spin or Splintered, and I liked it, but I didn't really like it. I found it was just a bit bland, and I would have preferred if each of these individual fairy tale retellings were individual stories by themselves, that they were standalones, but they're not. They're sort of continuations, and I just wasn't really too fussed. I'm not too fussed with where the story's going, so I've decided that I'm just going to DNF and not finish that series and decide to put it to bed and just leave it as it is. That I am not too interested in continuing on with that now. That it was fun whilst it lasted, but it didn't really last very long. And then, I felt my bookmark fell out then. And then I also have continued in the Dandelion Dynasty. I have read the whole of the Wall of Storms in this quarter, and I love this. Thoroughly would recommend. Would definitely recommend. And I have read the bulk of The Veiled Throne. The majority of it, the vast majority of The Veiled Throne I have read in this quarter, but I do have a little bit left that I'm going to finish in July, so it is rolling over. But I have definitely continued and worked on this series by reading a lot of pages in this world in this quarter, well, pretty much in June. Those are the series that I have worked on, that I have really tried to continue and work on. Not quite finished for some of them, but definitely put some effort into. So I have really been trying to work my way through a lot of my series, but I've got some more work to be done. And I have only started one series in the past quarter, and it's sort of a bit, not sort of a series, not like quite a series, and that is the Brutal Birthright series, the first book being Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark, which is a mafia romance. I believe each book is sort of like a standalone. There's 6 books within this series, but it's a romance, so it is a series, and I have got it on my series list, but it doesn't count for me in the same way as my fantasy series do, because it's not as though it's got an arc that's going to keep going through each book. I don't think, there might be, but I think each book is following individual romantic pairings. Not quite on the same level as the other series that I am working on and actively trying to work on in relatively quick succession, because I fear forgetting details, whereas I don't think I'm going to have that issue with that romance. So I think I did really well at not starting series, really well at working on the series that I had already started, because I did start so many in the first quarter of the year, so I was really trying to fix that in this second quarter and try and improve upon my series number. And I have, not a lot, but I have worked on my series. So my plans for the next 3 months is I really do want to just finish these, because I've done all the work, I've done all the hard work by continuing on in them, and a lot of these I only have 1 book left. Like, there are a lot of series that I can just get off this list really easily by finishing 1 book, so that should be easy enough to do. So I definitely do plan to finish The Veiled Throne. That should be very easy. It's 150 pages I've left of this, so very easy. Hope to do that today, and then read Speaking Bones. That has just been released, so I definitely do plan to read that in July. It's on my July TBR, so I am planning that this series will be finished in This book flew out of my hand in the last video I filmed. I'm very sorry, The Wall of Storms. I love you. You're like my favourite book of the year, but you really want to jump out of my hands. So I definitely want to read Speaking Bones, which I do not own yet, but I will be definitely continuing in this and finishing this series off. Easy peasy, easy one that's going to be done. I also really want to finish off The Lord of the Rings by reading The Return of the King. It's again just one more book, shouldn't take me too long. Should be easy enough to finish this off. I just need to make sure I watch the films first of The Two Towers, then I can finish this, and that should be another one that's easily finished. Another one that should be relatively easy to finish is the Women's War series by Jenna Glass. So I just have the one more book in this world to go. This was the second book. So it's the Mother of All. The Mother of All is the third book. So I do need to get that and then finish this series off. So that's another one that should be relatively easy to finish. Also, I could potentially keep going in the Plated Prison series by reading Gleam. I'm trying to maybe like space these out a little bit because I think the fifth and final book, I think it's a 5-book series, is coming out next June. I do have a little bit of time before that, like that's a whole year away. So, and I have 2 more books that are published for me to read, Gleam and Glow. So if I can try and maybe like space those out a little bit to make it not too, that I don't have too big a gap between the 4th book and the 5th book. I thought this was a 4-book series, which is why I started it, but no, I was lied to, or I lied to myself. Potentially I could read Gleam, but I don't think it's like top priority, but potentially I could get more up to date in this series. Another series that I want to finish is the Founders trilogy by Robert Jackson Bennett. So Lachlan's has just come out as of filming this, so I definitely want to read that and finish off the Founderside trilogy. So I have read both Founderside and Shorefall, and I really do want to read that 3rd book. The lovely Sophia at Sophia's Thoughts is rereading the series, and she's just sent me like a massive PDF of like a reminder of Founderside, so I'm going to read that, and then she's going to send me one as well for Shorefall when she rereads that, so I will hopefully be able to go into it with a fresh-ish head, considering I haven't reread them. If you haven't checked out Sophia, then you definitely should. I will link her channel down below for you to check out. So I'm very much looking forward to reading Lachlan's, and that will definitely be read in this quarter. And then a couple of other sequels that are coming out, or finales for one of them, is in September, the final book in the Deadly Education series. I've forgotten the name of the series. Scholomance trilogy. That is coming out in September. So I figure I could read that and I can finish that series as well, so that could be one that I easily finish. There's also the sequel to Once Upon a Broken Heart, comes out in September, so I figure I might as well read that as well and get that series up to date, because I found that first book really fun. So that's a couple of other ones. A big one that I really wanted to get to in this past quarter that I didn't get to, and I have no excuses. I have no excuses for why I haven't read this, and that is Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson, the 3rd book in Stormlight Archive. It's now getting to be a little while since I read Words of Radiance, and I really do want to read this. I really do want to read this. I do. And I was trying to decide prior to picking up The Veiled Throne if I read The Veiled Throne or Oathbringer, and I went for The Veiled Throne because it was slightly shorter, as it was only 1,000 pages and not 1,200. And I was trying to figure out if I would have enough time to read this before going away. It turns out it was probably a good decision because I still have 150 pages left to read of The Veiled Throne today, and I wouldn't have been able to make it through this. So I did make the right decision, but it was a bit sad also, like continuing to not put this off, but like read other things. So I definitely do need to get to this. I definitely need to read Oathbringer this quarter. It's happening. It is happening. Okay, so those are all the series that I think I can finish, work on, keep going in. And that will mean that I will be pretty up to date once I've done all of that. And I think that's pretty reasonable. I don't think that's like being too ambitious, that I think I could relatively easily finish and work on all those series. Like, I don't think I've set myself up for failure there. I think that is reasonable. There are a couple of things I want to start and a couple of things I want to do in this quarter. So speaking of Brandon Sanderson, I do want to start my reread of Mistborn Era 2, reread Alloy of Law, and actually finish Shadows of Self, because I never finished it. It's probably quite shameful. I never finished this. I was reading it, I didn't finish it. With the release of the 4th book coming out in November for this series, I figure it would be good for me to catch up. So I was thinking that I would read Alloy of Law in August, and then Shadows of Self in September, Bands of Mourning in October, and then I'll be ready for November. The only thing I have to worry about is if there's going to be like Cosmere crossovers in that 4th book, and I'm going to have to make sure I read Rhythm of War before then as well, because that's quite a big book to fit in. But I definitely do plan to work on this in this quarter so that I am up to date on this. And I've been ready and waiting to start doing my reread and actual continuation of this series. So quite a Brandon Sanderson heavy quarter potentially. And then there are a couple of series that have ended up on my July TBR because I did higher or lower as my TBR game, and I ended up losing quite a lot. The game was a bit brutal for me. I'll link it. It wasn't my friend, so I had like, the win would be for me to continue and finish a series, because that is a win for me, that I want to keep working on my series, and the lose was that I would have to start a series, which is not something that I was actively wanting to do. I did end up having 2 series that I'm going to be starting in July. The first being All Systems Red by Martha Wells. So a very, very short one. I've actually already read this. It's July 2nd, and I read this morning on my walk because it was very quick. Already done it. This is the first book in the Murderbot Diaries. This is a series predominantly of novellas. I think there is one full-length novel in this. I'm not too sure how many books are going to be in this. I think 6 are published so far. I will be continuing with this series because I really liked this, and I think quite a few of the audiobooks are on Scribd, and that's how I listened to this one, and I really like that, so I think I will keep listening to the audiobooks of this. Whether I keep going in this quarter or not, I don't know, but I liked that first one. And then sticking with sci-fi, I am planning to read A Memory Called Empire, which is the first book in it's a duology, and I don't know if I can pronounce the name of this duology. Duology by Arcady Martin. This is a political sci-fi, the first in a duology. I've heard quite mixed feelings on this. Some people love it, some people say that it's too dense and there's lots of very, very long words. So I'm going to see where I fall with it, but I am definitely excited to give it a try. So that is another one that I am going to be starting, but it's a duology, so it shouldn't be too much. Hopefully I could read this and also read the sequel within this quarter. At least that would be my aim with it, that I would start it and finish it within the quarter. So there are some plans. Hopefully it won't take me too long to actually finish some of these series, that if I keep working on them quite regularly, then I could finish these off with relative ease, I think, and then maybe I could start some other things, because it has been a while now, it feels like, since I started a series. I say that I started Murderbot this morning, but like properly started a series, because I spent so much of this past quarter working on the series that I started in the first quarter that I'm now wanting to actually start some other series. But we will see what happens. I don't want to like commit to reading any other series. I just want to commit to what I am finishing off, and then I will intersperse maybe something else in as we go on. So that is my wrap up and plans. How has it been going for you in this quarter? Have you been starting off a series, working on series that you're already in the middle of? Let me know what your plans are. And if you are after any more thoughts on the books that I did wrap up, then I will leave my monthly wrap ups as well down below, so you can check them out if you're after hearing more thoughts on them. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my future videos. Bye.